Yellow Jacket fans, welcome to another great edition of Up with the White and Gold. I'm your host, Jeremy the Impact York. John was busy on assignment this week. He does a lot of stuff with the local youth and um and football and band out in the Carrollton area, and so he was busy doing all that. So I said, no worries. I can hold down the fort for a week without you. We'll miss you, but we'll see you on the next one. So let's talk a little Georgia Tech football. They're 7-0. They're 7-0 for the first time since 1966. I mean, I don't that kind of stats don't matter much to me. They're what means the most to me? They're 7-0. And so let's talk about this game. So they beat Duke 27-18. People were like, "Wow, they beat them by 9 and all." And then other people go, "Well, they only beat them because of that late fumble recovery return for 95 yards. 95, by the way. 95 yards. That's a school record for the touchdown. If they didn't do that, they probably weren't going to win. Actually, no way of knowing that. And I disagree. I think they were going to win regardless. But it was Omar Daniels who returned that, which I thought was fantastic. Here's the difference. Let me just say this real quick. This Tech team is not good. They are great. What is the difference between a good and a great team? Well, glad you asked. A good team wins games, does some good stuff here and there, sometimes gets some good bounces. Great teams do those things, but they find ways to win. It doesn't have to be pretty. Doesn't have to be pretty. In this case, it was a little pretty. Wasn't that pretty? But it wasn't just they returned the fumble. No, Haynes King was he completed 2/3 of his passes for over 200 yards. He also ran for 120 yards and a touchdown. Malachi Hosley that has come out of nowhere to be one of the leading rushers on this team. He punched one in as well, and so did Jamal Haynes had a couple good runs. I'm not going to go down the stats because you guys know the stats. But no, on offense, sure, they had some issues. Only 205 in passing, only 171 in rushing, and 120 that was Haynes King. But they were leaving him open. You take what the defense gives you. Defense is making sure you can't throw downfield. Well, you look to the middle. Is there anything in the middle? Well, there was a little bit here and there. Okay, what about the flats? Well, the flats were okay. That means the quarterback's open. If everybody else is covered, the quarterback is not. And so, getting choked up just talking about it. So that's when Haynes King says, "Well, I can fix that because I can run for 120 yards. You guys don't want to stop me this time either? I'll run for more." And so he continued to do. You just do what is given to you. You don't say, "Well, I only have one game plan and we're sticking to that game plan, and no matter what, we're going to keep doing that game plan." You know who does that? Not great teams, not even good teams. The teams that the good and the great teams beat all the time, that refuse to catch up to the rest of the world, and you got to pivot and know what you're doing and just continue to push forward. And that's what this team continues to do. Like I said, they don't have the world's biggest stats this week, but they don't need the world's biggest stats. They scored 27 points, by the way. 27. 7 was just that one run, which means they scored 20 on their own. Last time I checked, 20 still beats 18. And if it doesn't, maybe you should look at those frame things on your wall and consider if they were participation awards, because 20 beats 18 every time, unless you're playing golf. But we're not playing golf, we're playing football. Defensively, I thought it was a pretty good, just roundabout. They only had 2 sacks and they were split between 4 people, which is fine. This team's not always about pressure. They win the battle at the line of scrimmage many different ways, by pushing the quarterback around, making him shuffle around, the running back not getting out of the backfield, handoffs going weird, fumble recoveries. They're creating chaos without creating big stats, the big fancy stats. Just like I said, people were going, oh, 14 for 21 for 205 and no touchdowns and no interceptions. What a terrible day. Terrible day. You won the game. Um, More importantly, did they officially give that one kid? No. How about Haynes King wasn't sacked? I like that because he has been a little dinged up in the previous year or so. He made it through this entire game. He got dinged up earlier this year. He was fine. He's ready to continue to play because they've got a big game coming up. But defensively, like I said, I just thought it was a more rounded out game. There wasn't one or two big people making big plays. I thought the team, they were playing more as a team effort. They weren't really letting Duke do what Duke wanted to do. And it didn't matter. Like, they tried to pivot. They tried to do different things, and this defense just stood tall and said, we're not going to let you score 20 points. And they didn't. Aaron Burr hits all of his kicks. He's pretty money anyway. And how about Marshall Nichols? 3 punts for 130 yards. That's a 43.3 average. 1 touchback, 1 inside the 20, and he kicked a 49-yard kick in the air. That is what flips the field and puts your opponent in a bad spot. Absolutely puts them in a bad spot. And that's how you win games. You flip the field. You pin them back. You take advantage of the things when you can. Coach Key didn't know there was going to be a fumble that late in the game. He didn't know it was going to be from their own 5. He didn't know his player was going to return it for 95 yards on a school record. What he did know was that these guys don't give up. They continue to battle. They continue to fight. They just continue to stay in it. You got to stay in it to win it. You're not defeated. Think of it like a UFC fight or a boxing match. If you get knocked out in the first few rounds, you're out. That's it. You're out. But if you find a way to stay in the fight, you find a way to keep fighting and stick around to the end, well, then you have a chance to win. You absolutely have a chance to win. And that's what this team does. They, like I said, it's what me and John talked about in the last couple of weeks, is they build from the line of scrimmage out. We have a defensive line that pressures and comes after the other team's offensive line and creates chaos. That's what you want to do. We have an offensive line that keeps the havoc and the chaos away from everybody in our backfield so that Haynes King can make those plays. So Jamal Haynes and Hosley can make the big run so that people, all the other people down the field, all the receivers, who was the leading receiver this week? Did it Kenyon and Beetham and Harpring, all these guys, Bailey Stockton, Malik Rutherford, that they're able to get open because there's not as much stress and their quarterback is not in distress. So he can make the proper plays. Brent Key doesn't have to worry about his quarterback as much because the offensive line is holding, giving his quarterback plenty of time to not get sacked, not get roughed up, not get knocked around, and have the time to make the right play. That's just where they're at. That's just where they're at right now. And that's another ACC win. That puts them in a fantastic spot going into now week 9. Because at 12 noon tomorrow on ESPN, this is going to be a fun matchup. Don't think about the record. Our Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are 7-0. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. 7. They're going to host the 3-4 Syracuse Orange at 12 noon on ESPN on the 4 letters. That's going to be fun. I can't wait to watch that one. Georgia Tech is a 16.5-point favorite. That is disrespectful to Syracuse. And I appreciate the nod to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech may win this by 7-10. They're not winning by 17. They're not. Syracuse is a tough team, and they're a weird, quirky matchup. It's the ones I talk about. That's why I picked them in a lot of the pick'ems, because Syracuse just knows how to match up with people. It's weird, but they figure out a way to do it. And that's what you do. Syracuse is in that situation where Georgia Tech was a couple years ago. They're not bad and trying to turn over the program. They're not great yet, and they're starting to be good. Not really good yet. They're good. They're in the middle, but they're here to wreck people's seasons. And the way you do that is you match up with these funky matchups, like this is going to be for Georgia Tech, and they're going to come after them in every way possible. Because why not disrupt? Why not be the one in 7-1? You know, why not be the one in 7-1? Um. So what Tech is going to try to do here is they're going to try to play Tech football. They're going to try to win the line of scrimmage battle. I mean, the three keys of the game. We'll start there. Win the line of scrimmage battle. I think they're going to. They have the better offensive line. They have the better defensive line. Defensively, Syracuse. I mean, they beat Clemson. I mean, that's saying something. Now, I know a handful of people have this year, but they beat Clemson. They beat UConn. They beat Colgate. I mean, in looking at it, what they're going to try to do, they've had two quarterbacks this year. What they're going to try to do, they've thrown for almost 2,000 yards. That's not bad between the two of them. They want to throw the ball. Their rushing game is not quite where it should be. Their leading rusher, Willis, has 91 carries for 353 yards, which is about a 3.9. He's got four of the touchdowns. Nixon's got two. Collins got the other. Um, Combined, those three guys have about 600 yards. What, across 6 or 7 contests, so they're averaging about 85 rushing yards a game between those three. Yeah, their run game accents their pass game. They want to spread it out. They want to get you moving around. They want to confuse you on offense and defense, and that's where key number two, where this defense is going to need to spread out, whether that's zone or man, and keep the passing attack from being behind them. Keep it all in front of you, and I think we'll be fine. Win the line of scrimmage battle, keep it all in front of you, and then number three, keep your quarterback upright and healthy. And I think you're going to win this game. If you do those three things, I very much feel like you will be able to win this game. What are some of the okay? We all know too that your leading rusher is Haynes King, who has 560 on the year, by the way, and he hasn't played all the games. Um, they have a big time receiver in Cook, and I think his name is Jobity Jr. or Jobity. He's got 4 sacks. He's a defensive lineman. You're going to have to keep him. You have to keep him in front of you. You can't let him through unless King has already escaped through, because Jobity's looking to add to his total. And then Bryant the third is their tackle monster at the linebacker position. I just stay away from him. Not completely, because sometimes you can go at him, but in most schemes, I would stay away from the tackle monster. And if he's on the right side, I'm going to the left. If he's on the left side, I'm going to the right. If he's in the middle, go at him. But what are they saying about this? Tickets as low as $57. That's not bad. I do want to try to make it to a game this year. I've had offers to go to a couple games and had to decline because I had things I couldn't get out of, which is actually the case tomorrow. This would have been the second game I would have got to go to, and I will unfortunately not be able to because of a prior engagement. But man, I want to make it out because Georgia Tech games were fun, and I used to go when they weren't that good. I watched them and Georgia play a close one many years ago, and I watched a Thursday night battle with Virginia Tech that was a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. Um, but we have. Well, let's go to the rankings. I have not. We can't end the show without me going to the rankings. Where are the rankings? Not those. There we are. All right. Georgia Tech currently sits at the top of the ACC. Excuse me. Getting choked up about it. Virginia sits at number 2, along with SMU. All of those 3 teams are undefeated in the ACC, with Georgia Tech being 4-0, the other 2 being 3. That is what counts in the overall, as far as making the ACC championship. Teams still kind of in it. Pitt and Duke are both 3-1. Of course, we handed them that one loss. Louisville and Cal are both at 2-1. Stanford is at 2-2, and Miami is at 1-1. I'll be honest. If Miami can take one more loss in the ACC, Tech won't see them in the ACC championship, and I think Tech will be one of those teams. People whose seasons are basically over because they're not going to make the playoff, and they're definitely not going to make the ACC. Boston College, FSU, UNC, maybe, I don't know. UNC, Syracuse. No, I'll say FSU and BC because they're 0-4. They're out. UNC's at 0-2. They could rebound and win the rest of them, or win a bunch more and be. No, they'd have to win the rest of them. Syracuse at 1-3. Well, adding win number 2 against Georgia Tech would definitely help that. Virginia Tech, NC State, and Wake Forest all at 1-2. They're not technically out of it either. Clemson at 2-3. The fact that they've played 5 ACC games and they are 2-3, I don't think a 3-loss team makes it to the ACC. So Clemson may be out. But like I said, I think if I had to pick right now, you might see Miami because they've only played 2. But I think it's Georgia Tech Miami is more than likely going to be what you see. But if Virginia or Pitt, I think I'll be honest, no, Virginia or Duke. Virginia or Duke, I think, could be the other teams that make a vie at the ACC. But just wanted to go over all that. Like I said, 12 noon tomorrow on ESPN. Our Yellow Jackets, they face the Syracuse Orange, and I think it's going to be a fun game. Once again, I think they win by 7-10. They're not going to win by 17. If they won by 11, that's fine too. Somewhere around 10. I think they're going to win by about 10 points. I'll 31-20. 31-20 Tech. That's what I'll go with that one. Other than that, we've reached the end of the show. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another great edition of Up with the White and Gold. John should be back next week. And until then, deuces, gooses, go Tech.